Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a really fascinating journey into the physical world around us. We're going to break down the built environment, starting from the absolute macro level, the whole industry that literally builds our world. And then we're going to zoom all the way into the micro level, looking at the specific structural organs of a house. I'm absolutely thrilled to walk you through this because honestly, once you see how buildings are actually put together, you are never going to look at your city, your neighborhood, or even your own living room the same way ever again. But hey, before we get into the nitty-gritty technical details, do me a quick favor. Just take a look around the room you're sitting in right now. Look down at the floor. Look at the walls around you. Glance up at the ceiling. What exactly is keeping that roof over your head at this very second? What hidden physical elements are constantly at work, silently fighting gravity just to keep you safe and comfortable? Keep that question in the back of your mind as we start to uncover the anatomy of these structures. So, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start big with the construction industry explained, then look at 3 types of buildings, move on to basic building structures, break down the core building elements, and finally, wrap it all up with a really cool human body analogy. All right, let's dive right in with our first section, the construction industry explained. So at its absolute core, the building construction industry is simply the work of designing and building houses, roads, and other structures. Whether it's laying the bricks for a cozy single-family home or pouring thousands of tons of concrete for a massive new high school, this industry is literally the physical engine of our world. Think about it for a second. Every single place you sleep, work, or learn only exists because of this industry. It literally lays the foundation for modern society. Moving on to Section 2, 3 types of buildings. Let's see how this massive industry actually categorizes all of its creations. Take a look at the incredible visual variety we've got here. We have a cozy house, a super modern office block, a church, a factory, and a local shop. Intuitively, right off the bat, you can tell they all serve completely different purposes. Well, in the industry, we categorize these into 3 main groups, and I've got a really easy memory trick to help you lock this in. Just remember the acronym RCS. That's residential, commercial, and social. First up, residential. These are the buildings where people live, like your house or an apartment complex. Their main job, just providing shelter. Second, we have commercial. These are the buildings used for business, so think shops and offices. These are super essential because they give us spaces to work, trade, and earn a living. And third, social, civic, or industrial. These are structures built for public services or heavy industry. Think of schools and hospitals that take care of a community's social needs, or factories that physically produce the goods we use every single day. So that's RCS, residential, commercial, social. All right, Section 3, basic building structures. Now it's time to kind of look under the skin and examine the actual skeletons of these buildings. Now, there are basically 2 main approaches to holding a building up. Over on the left, we've got a load-bearing structure, which is also known as a solid structure. Picture really thick brick or concrete walls. In this setup, the entire wall carries the weight of the building. It is incredibly strong and super stable. But then, on the right side, we have a framed structure. Instead of using solid, heavy walls, you build a skeleton, literally a frame made out of wood or steel. And what's really fascinating about the framed approach is that it actually uses way less material and is generally much faster to build. The frame itself does all the heavy lifting, and the walls, well, they basically just fill in the gaps. But here's the thing. Whether a building is solid or framed, every single structure is divided horizontally into 2 main zones. First, you have the substructure, which is the part of the building that lives entirely below ground level. Its job is totally hidden from view, but it's absolutely vital because it supports the entire building. Then you have the superstructure. This is everything above ground level, the walls, the roof, the actual spaces we live in. It forms the visible building that we interact with every single day. So to remember how structures work, think SFSS, solid, framed, sub, super. Which brings us to Section 4, core building elements. Let's zoom in even further on the exact physical pieces holding it all together. Okay, get ready for a rapid-fire breakdown. To master this part, I want you to memorize a simple acronym with me. FWFRO. Foundations, walls, floors, roofs, openings. Say it to yourself a couple of times. FWFRO. Literally every building you have ever set foot in relies on these 5 core elements. So let's take a look at exactly where they live on a standard blueprint. Starting with number 1, foundations. This is the absolute base of the building. Think of it as the concrete anchor, buried deep in the earth that safely distributes the massive weight of the entire structure down into the ground. If you look just below the dirt line at the very bottom of this cross-section,
you can actually see the foundation wall plunging down. And notice how it terminates at that wide, flat piece at the bottom? That's called the footing. That footing is exactly what prevents the incredibly heavy house from just sinking right into the mud. That right there is your substructure in action.
Moving straight up, we hit number 2, walls. Walls are simply the vertical parts that enclose a space. Their main job is to give us protection from the outside world, and of course, much needed privacy.
Now notice in the middle section of this blueprint, we actually have a couple different types of walls. You've got the exterior wall on the far outside, which protects the house from the elements. But right there in the middle, we have a bearing wall. That particular vertical element isn't just there for privacy. It is physically carrying the heavy weight of the floor above it straight down to the foundation. Number 3, floors. These are the horizontal, flat surfaces that you walk on every day. And whether they're made of sleek tile, hardwood, or just carpet over plywood, their job is to bear our everyday weight, supporting people and super heavy furniture without, collapsing.
Take a close look at the horizontal beams separating the different levels here. Those are called the floor joists. See how they span the entire gap from the exterior wall all the way over to that center bearing wall? Together, they create a really sturdy platform for us to live on.
On to number 4, roofs. The roof is the top covering of a building. It's basically your ultimate shield against the elements, whether that's the blazing summer sun, a pouring rainstorm, or heavy winter snow. Focus your eyes on the very top triangle of the structure. You'll clearly see the angled roof rafters that give the roof its shape and help shed the water away. But also notice that horizontal piece connecting them near the peak? That's called a collar tie, and it literally stops the roof from splitting apart under its own sheer weight. It's an incredibly clever piece of engineering when you really think about it. And finally, number 5, rounding out our FWFRO acronym, openings. Doors and windows. These are the spaces that are intentionally left empty. Because let's face it, a building without openings is just a sealed box. We absolutely need doors for entry and movement, and windows to let in natural light and allow the whole building to breathe with fresh ventilation. All right, section 5, the human body analogy. Let's kind of slow the pace down a bit here. We're going to map all these technical, structural elements directly to something you already know perfectly, your very own body. This mapping really creates a perfect metaphor. Think about it. The foundation of a building is exactly like your feet. Your feet are anchored to the ground, holding up your entire weight, keeping you balanced and totally upright. The walls of a building act just like your body and your torso. They contain your vital organs, provide your core strength, and connect your feet up to your head. And the roof of a building, well, that's your head. It sits at the very top, perfectly capping off the structure. Whenever you look at a building from now on, I really want you to see this anatomy. Feet, body, head. Foundation, walls, roof. Which brings us to the end of today's explainer, and I have a quick challenge for you. Think back to that question I asked you at the very beginning. Look around you right now and actively apply what you just learned. Are you sitting in a residential, commercial, or social building? Is it a solid or frame structure? And can you spot the FWFR? Like, where are the load-bearing walls? Where are the joists hiding under your floor? Once you truly understand the anatomy of buildings, the built environment just comes alive in a completely new way. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on this explainer, and keep looking closely at the incredible world around you.